says and the look that she gives you, that you believe she's going to do exactly what she says, and therefore everybody backs down. Purr me just for a little while. Realizing that all throughout the Bible we're met by many examples of people who would be in a lot worse condition if they would just quit like everybody else wanted them to. We got Brother Job, who was trying to stand on God's promises. He said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. But at the same time, you have his wife at home say, hey, baby, just go ahead and die. Just let it go. Let it go. If you've done all this stuff to this point, and this is how he treats you, it ain't worth it. How many of us have friends who, when everything is going good, hey, they're happy as clams. They're very happy. I don't see recorded anywhere before these problems showed up that we ever have any recorded problems of Job and his wife. No recorded anything. But all of a sudden when the cattle start dying, the children start dying, and all these other problems happen to Job, all of a sudden she's like, you know what? Just quit. So this is the second half. We're learning when it's proper to quit and when not to quit. Just to catch everybody up. Could you imagine if the woman with the issue of blood said, you know what, it's too hard. I'm not going, the crowd is too wide. I'm not going to go ahead and get over there because there's too much going on. I'm not going to be able to make it. It's not worth my time. I'm just going to sit over here. Could you imagine the man who was sitting at the side of the fountain waiting for the angel of the Lord to come down and touch the water so that he might be healed? I wonder how long he sat there by the pool, just waiting. Many of us would have said, you know what, hey, it's 5 o'clock, it's time to go. I'm not going, he ain't coming today, I'm just going to go ahead and leave. No, he's going to sit there and wait. He'll sit there and wait. But a lot of times we get impatient and we don't have the ability to sit back and wait for God to move in his own time. Jesus, I think, said it best when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. He said that if it be God, the Lord's will, let the cup pass from me. But if it be your will, I'll drink it up. He said, you know what? I don't want this. But if it's your will, I will go through what this is. Got me thinking about when the devil took Jesus up to that high place and started tempting him. I kind of went and tried to go back and imagine what he was actually saying. He said, you know what? He said, it's written that he will send angels for you, let you dash your foot against the rock. He told him, just quit. You don't need this. You have the power to do this stuff, so why would you go through this? Just quit. He said, you know what? Just bow down before me, and all that you see I will give you if you just quit. The 3 Hebrew boys, just bow down, just quit. You don't need this. But in my mind, I'm just sitting here thinking that just thought of Moses when they were having a battle with the Amalekites. Pastor, you recall, they said that as long as Moses held his hands up, he was holding the staff of God. As long as he held his hands up, the Israelites were winning. But when he dropped his arms, the Amalekites started winning. And they had Aaron, and I believe it was Aaron and Hur, that went there and they put a rock so that Moses was able to sit on the rock and keep his hands up. I don't know what it was that made them realize, you know what? As long as this man got his hands up, we're winning. But when he drops his hands, we start losing. I don't know what it was in that thought process. I don't know where they were standing on the battlefield where they realized what was actually going on. At one point, they went so far as to say, you know what, you grab the left arm, I'll grab the right arm. And we will hold this man's hands up if it means that we will win this battle. As far as I know, there are no official hand-holding positions in any army that I've ever heard of in my entire life. So it's not like they went out there and they knew that they were going to be holding Moses' hand up. I've heard of the banner, people that walk out there holding the banner to hold up so everybody feels better, to rile up the troops. But what was it that told them to lift his arms up so that they could continue to win this battle? Sir. Absolutely. But the thing I think that we missed in that whole situation is that, yes. No.
Well, we must realize that first Moses held his arms by himself.
Right.
And when he held his arms up by himself, Israel was winning. Then, after a while, he needed assistance. So therefore, that's how he knew. Unless you guys know
Not quite. You're along the lines of what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I mean,
What does the Bible tell us that we should mount up on wings as eagles? Run and not get weary, walk and not faint. In other words, you can do some things on your own, but at some point when it gets beyond your abilities, it's the chance and the opportunity and the moment where God steps in. He held his arm up as long as he could. I don't think it was planned they were supposed to hold his arms up. But when the situation called for somebody to step in, they were joining you on the spot. Yes, sir. To help. They were fighting the Amalekites, the Israelites, and they had a situation where they realized that as long as Moses' arms was up with the staff, that the Israelites were winning. But as soon as he dropped the staff, because his arms was tired, the Amalekites started winning. So they got him someplace to sit down at first, and then after a while, they said, forget it. We'll just, one person held the arm, and the other person held the other arm. And they held his arms like that until the sun went down, until the battle was over with. And what I'm saying is that it doesn't really matter what you plan to do. If it's the will of God, it don't matter what you prepared ahead of time. If it's the will of God, he will send people to help accomplish what needs to happen. When he sent out disciples, he said, you know what, don't worry about what you're going to eat. Don't carry no cloak. Just go. people will receive you. If people don't receive you, dust your feet off and go to the next place. They didn't need to plan anything. Just like they didn't need to plan for that battle with the Amalekites. They had they had an idea of what they needed to do, but there's no way possible for them to realize or to plan ahead to say, you know what, just hold his hands up. When they were trying to get away from Egypt and they were blocked by the Red Sea, who in that crowd said, you know what, Moses, just raise your hands? I don't think that went through anybody's head. The planning and the execution of God may put us in a place to execute things. Well, leave the planning up to him. Because when we start planning to mess up. When we start trying to impose our will on things, we absolutely mess up. How many people have been incarcerated for trying to say, you know what? I have to feed my family. I have to make things happen. I need to do these things. I need to figure it out. Where God had a ram in the bushes waiting on you. Abraham went on the mountain. I'm supposed to do this. I'm going to go. Did he plan to have the ram in the bush? Because it wasn't ever his plan. As Christians, we can plan all we want to. We are not in control. God said the battle is mine, not yours. So why are we trying to do all these preemptive strikes, trying to get everything done, trying to be in charge of every little thing around us? When all we got to do is follow through the motions. And I can't see, I can see if we did not know what the end result was already supposed to be. Satan knows what the end result is going to be. But as we know, misery likes company. So he's trying to get as many people thinking he's going to hurt God's plan in the end to go with him. People are like, if I got to go, hey, we all going. It's the mindset that he attempts to go at us with. But sometimes we got to learn to quit. Sometimes we want to quit, and we just need to keep going. But as we discussed before, actually in Proverbs, the chapter 3 and verse 5, there's something very important. Here he said, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not to your own understanding. Yes, sir. Continue, sir. And he shall direct your path. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Pay attention to me. Lean not to your own understanding. Guess what? It ain't about you. It never has been. It's not your battle. Your circumstances are just what they are. It says it rains on the just and the unjust equally. Sometimes it's your time, sometimes it's not. But the thing is, we have somebody with power who's able to influence the outcome of our situation. As crazy as it sounds, I happen to point something that I've never heard everybody mentions it, but I've never seen anybody preach on it or kind of go this route. Think about Jesus when he was, after he went ahead and was tempted by the devil. What's the very next thing that happened? After he got away from the devil, he was tempted. He got through fasting. 40 days, 4 nights. What happened next? Continue. Where'd you get it? Where'd you get it?
The angels came down and provided things for him.
The angels came down and provided for him. When John was on the Isle of Patmos,
Right?
and he was writing the vision, making it plain. After he got done, what happened? Anybody? After John got through on the Isle of Patmos, he was still on the isle. What happened? Didn't he get food brought to him? What I'm saying is that God gives provisions as a result and for reward of us just following through and not quitting what our assignment was. There's many times in the Bible where people were, and the thing is, a lot of times people are given permit. Yes, ma'am. It was getting bad. Think of the lady with the little bit of food that was left. Okay. But follow through comes with rewards. Follow through comes with relief. Follow through comes with rest. And it's like we're supposed to follow through, guess what? At the end, we rest. But what if we don't follow through? It's not going to be no rest. There's no way else to put that. I think of the lady who was, when we get the expression, you feed the man of God, and you get a prophet's, treat the prophet, get a prophet's reward. She ain't had no more food. She ain't had no other ideas, nothing. She just, you know what? He said, I'm hungry. I'm going to follow through. And then she got infinite provisions after that. They say they never went hungry again. And it's not but a little bit that was in there. It's like, you know what? You don't need to stockpile stuff with God. We're thinking, hey, you know what? I need to store up my grain in this silo or whatever. He said, you don't need that. He said, I'll send the birds to send you food. I will let manna fall from heaven. Just continue with what your assignment is. Don't figure it out. I've already done that. What are you worried about? I was looking in I believe it was Matthew's earlier today. It said, basically, you are worried about what God does, to paraphrase. He said, you're worried about what God does. He said, y'all can't even treat each other right yet. You ain't figured that part out. How you gonna look at the mote that's in your brother's eye when you got a beam in yours? He said, you can't even see what he's done. You concerned about the wrong thing. He said, at the same time, I'm over here like, you know what? He said, if your son asks you for bread, know to give him bread and not a stone. What do you think about God? I know what I'm doing. Pay attention to what's in front of you. Ye hypocrites, is how he put it. Sometimes we got to learn when to quit. And sometimes quitting is probably the last thing we need to do. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. All your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct that path. Jesus himself would not intervene to save himself. Correct? Found to be faultless in actual court of law, in spite of the charges that were against him. When Jesus was walking toward Golgotha with the cross on his back, what happened? Forgive them. But as he's walking through the people with the cross on his back, what happened? Exactly. Somebody stepped in to help him carry his cross. He didn't plan for it, I don't think. I mean, I don't see that being a political move or whatnot. But even Jesus carrying the weight of the cross was showing us, guess what? As unbearable as this is, my Father will send you somebody to help you carry your burden. Unplanned. He will send somebody to help you carry your cross. I look at the things that Jesus did on the way to the cross, and he's beginning to extrapolate the messages for what's going on. Jesus had the ability to get himself away from them, if he so desired. But he wanted to show us, say, you know what? Even in this situation, he's going to send you somebody. I can think of situations when I was a kid and we didn't have all that much for Christmas going on. Somebody would come and knock on our door, handing us bags of toys. I asked my father, I said, you know them? He said, nope. Money getting a little tight. Somebody would come knock on the door. You know what, I was thinking about you. Hand us a whole full meal. Did you know they was coming? Nope. If you are doing what God has assigned you to do, I'm not going to say that things are always going to work out the way that you expect. They're not always going to be rosy days every single day. But what I'm telling you today is that if you do not quit on God, he will not stop providing for you. If we look at what David said, he said, I was young and I'm young and now I was old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken nor his seed begging bread. Guess what? Keep moving, keep doing what God tells you to do. He will keep providing for you. It don't matter if it comes from somebody you don't know, because sometimes we have to be careful, because sometimes we entertain angels unaware. There's going to be some times where he's going to send you a ram in the bush, like he did with Abraham. Sometimes all he needs you to do is just raise your hands in worship and in praise, and you'll win the battle. Certain instances in the Bible, guess what? They didn't have to raise their swords not once. Walked into a fully destroyed camp. But guess what? If they did never go to that camp or do what God said, it'd have been a whole other situation going on. We have to do what God tells us to do, what he instructs us to do. But as we realize, how do you know what God's intentions are if you don't know him and he don't know you? If you don't know me, you don't know what my order at McDonald's is. You don't know what I like. All of a sudden, you can't order for me. You have no clue. I know you know. But how do you know what God's plan? And I for years, I hear people say that if it's God's will, it's God's will. But right at the exact same time, I've heard them say, you know what? You can't never tell what God's going to do. Technically, they're true, but at the same time, there was always something missing. And what was missing all the time was the relationship. If you don't, yes, sir. And that's the thing, we're not. You have to have faith to know when to quit, and you have to have faith to know when not to quit. Either way, it all comes back to faith. Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I can attest to that. There's been situations. There's something that happens to me quite often, and it's not about me. It's not nothing I done did. But God kind of works with me a lot of times by just kind of showing me something, and He might show it to me a second time, and then it's like, okay, listen to what I said. Like, for instance, there was one instance where I was trying to explain this to my family, and we weren't, they I don't know if they believed something I was trying to tell them or not, but my younger sister, I told her one day, I said, put that pair of pliers in your purse. She said, what? I said, it's not me. Put the pliers in your purse. She said, for what? Why would I walk around all day with these heavy pliers in my pocket? I said, this is an example. I said, just put the pliers in your purse. I don't know why you're putting the pliers in your purse. I don't know. I couldn't tell you if you asked me. I'm hearing from Him to tell you, put the pliers in your purse. I said, when you get back home, tell me what you did with them. I forgot all about it. I ain't said nothing else about it all day, because he just tells me stuff, and you're either going to listen, like buying a refrigerator, or you're going to not buy the refrigerator, and it's going to go to somebody else. He probably told the person who had it, hey, stick it in this refrigerator. Nobody will ever find it. Now, that person may not know what's going to go to your family. There's no way for them to know that. I sat there all day, came home, we had a meal and everything, and the last thing I told my sister, I said, so what did you do with the pliers? She said, oh, Lord, you're never going to believe this. She said, my car started acting up, something with my tire, and the guy at my job was trying to help me, and he realized that I didn't have a 4-way lug. He said, well, I could fix it if I just had a pair of pliers. She said, you will never believe this one. Hand him the pliers, right out the window. He said, why are you walking around with pliers in your pockets? She said, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. You wouldn't believe me. She said, I don't believe it. And she said, I got home. She said, I did not think about it at no point until you asked me. So what'd you do with the pliers? Sometimes we just got to be paying attention. If we don't have a relationship with God, how are we in a receiving position for what he has for us? I mean, somebody can throw a ball at you all the way down the field. If you don't know it's coming, how does that help you? We serve a God who has cattle on 1,000 hills, but guess what? If you don't put yourself in a position or put yourself out of a position that he doesn't want you in, it's kind of hard to receive that. Yes, sir.
I have a tendency to believe what you're about to say.
Mm-hmm.
You guys correct. The $3,000 in the back of the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
I had family members that would hide money and lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't figure out where they put it. Right? Now, mostly with good intention. But then people hide money with bad intention.
Yes, sir.
And I think that's all a part of God's.
Absolutely.
So I'm okay feeling.
Right.
I don't want to be demonic when I say
Right.
stuff like that, but like you can legitimately forget, or you could be hiding it deceitfully and lose it. And he's gives you this.
Absolutely.
So
And it still get to wherever he meant for it to go. My wife could tell you, we had an issue where we needed some money for a medical procedure. I got a tax return in November on a Sunday. November on a Sunday. It came in the mail for the exact amount we needed for the medical procedure. I've heard people say that, you know, the expression with the Hoosier Lottery is you got to be in it to win it. You hear it. I kind of, you know, we don't really mess with that too much, but in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if you don't put any money into it, it's kind of not wrong because you can't get nothing out of it. And just as soon as I said that, I was walking through, absolutely, I was walking through on Teal right here next to the Rural King. I said it, and a $20 bill slapped me in the leg. I'm looking around like, well, that was a good boost of luck right there. I picked it up, and I said, well, you know, I should go and put this on. Another 20 hit me in the leg. I said, you know what? God telling me, don't tell me what I can't do. Wow. I don't have to plan things with you. I don't have to work things out with you. The government ain't got to have nothing to do with this. They don't get a cut. I'm your daddy. If you just keep on going. Yes, sir. A little bit.
yeah, she was talking about she had went to the doctor and the doctor
Pastor, my very first apartment, I was dating my now wife, my now lovely wife, Roshanta Holcomb. We had a situation, and I call it the everlasting 20. Is how I explain it. Needed $20? Matter of fact, the everlasting 20 happened right after the Sunday check for the income tax. It was right behind each other. That was the end of that situation. I had a situation, I had a $20 bill. I wanted to spend on something else, I needed to spend on something else, and I needed to pay my tithes. I didn't know where to go with that at first. My father was our pastor. He said, you know what? He said, if you need to hold on to this 20, it's fine with me, just hold on to it. I said, you know what? No. I'm paying my tithes. I don't care if I don't have the money to do what I need to do, $20. I'm going to put where it needs to go. We're going to see what happens. I put the $20 up. Guess what? Somebody knocked on my door and said, you know what? I owe you $20. Here you go. I went to my bank account. They said, you know what? We overdrafted you. We owe you $20. It was about 5 different situations, none of which was in my power, none of which is nothing I could have planned for. But following through with what God had placed for me, it says that we're supposed to what does it say about the steps of a man? It's supposed to be a righteous man. What does a righteous man do? Anything that's right. You're righteous if you're doing the right things, you're righteous. And they're ordered by the Lord. So it don't matter what the person had intended for that money in the refrigerator to go to. He already know who he's giving it to. It don't matter what was going on in this situation. Your situation was already figured out before you walked in the door. Your parents with the money on the bed, where did people used to hide their money at? In the mattress. A lot of us were not allowed to bank back in the day. So they put their money in the mattress. If you didn't put it in the mattress, you put it in the refrigerator or in the freezer. It don't matter how long it sat there. Your father is rich with houses and land. So we're heirs to the throne. But all we have to do is say, hey, Daddy, I'm over here. He said, we're going over there and take care of that for me. He said, you know, I'm on my way. When Jesus was getting his disciples together, the ones who were ready, that dropped their nets at the lake, they dropped their nets and they said, hey, we're going. What happened to the ones that said, you know what, I got land back at home and I need to talk to some people, or like the man who was trying to get everybody to the wedding for his son. Everybody always has excuses. We always have plans. But I cannot think of a single situation in the Bible where somebody did something that God wanted them to do and they had adverse reactions. Not a one. So if your situation, your steps may always be as steady as you would like, but you knew what the outcome was, why were you so afraid? And I think it's more than a coincidence there when Moses was trying to hold his hands up. The first thing they did was they gave him a rock to stand on. I think that's very important that he had to stand on a solid rock so he can, survive that situation that's going on. I just think that's very interesting. And I think it's more than a coincidence that the Bible says that if my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray, turn from their wicked ways and seek my face, then will I hear from heaven and heal their land. You know the problem I have with that? In all the years of humanity, we ain't never done that.
So
I think that's a bad situation for us.
that's something that
Yeah.
I'm thinking about. We've been given a worthy adversary.
Absolutely.
Very good at denying that request right there.
Mm-hmm. But he makes you not even try it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He's so good, it's like, don't even want to put up a fight.
Right. I mean, how many of us remember, I'm going to bring up the Matrix movies? All right? If you recall, the one guy, I remember his name was Cypher. He was so discontent with what the situation he saw around him was. He said, you know what, I'll go back to the lie. I'll go back to the lie. We got the children of Israel that say, you know what, if we got here, we ain't got nothing to eat, we'll go back to Egypt. All right, we'll go back to slavery. It was easier there.
Did you ever notice that in that movie, the Trinity
Yes,
the one
yes.
that
They're all over the place in that. I started looking at the movie with my dad. We were like, do you see what I'm saying? He's like, absolutely. Absolutely. He said, they're trying to find the one. Okay, it's not going to be Neil, but we're looking for the one too. You know? But I'm just sitting there thinking about it. Like sometimes we are so set upon that we rather believe the lie or act like the person's not lying to our face. You know, you have somebody who you're in a relationship with, you know they're lying. But you know what, I don't even feel like fighting them no more. I just go ahead and run with it. How does that end up? That never ends up in a good situation. And our bodies have a situation where our brains tries to normalize the situations that we see over and over and over again to try to make sense of it for our own peace of mind. It don't matter what you're doing, no matter what the person says. Some people will believe the lie that somebody tells them to their dying day because they'd rather not try. There's plenty of people out in this world who just say, you know what, I quit. You can be disenfranchised all you want to, but here's the thing. Trouble don't last always. You might be set upon right now. You could be the drama in your home. When you go home, guess what? Trouble don't last always. You got to ride it out. When God decided to shorten our days, that was where he gave us our greatest advantage. Because guess what? If we were in a situation where all your trouble never ended, no storm ever ended, your life never ended, nothing you were going through ever ended, why am I depending on God? Because this ain't going to never stop. That would drive somebody insane. Your brain would be hard-pressed for you to say, you know what, Lord, help me out of this situation, because I know it can change. It's not going to change. It's always going to be. Can you help me? I'm a down on bending knee, Lord. Can you please help me get out of the situation? Because I know through my experiences, through everyone else's experiences, through your books, things don't last always. And I can see if he didn't give you an instruction manual, I can see he didn't give you other examples through the Bible. He said, you know what? Just keep coming. 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 Yes, sir.
We know we serve a God that knows everything. And
Did he plant it?
and pay tribute
Right.
to the government. And when you really think about that, I mean, how amazing is that you can, and you're a fisherman.
Yes.
You're a fisherman.
I ain't never found the money. I just have it.
Jesus knew so much because he was God. He said,
Right.
you go out there and fish, and the very fish you caught, you reach in his mouth, there's going to be money in there. Now, how awesome is that?
I used to think that nobody's life could be as dramatic as what people were telling us was happening in the Bible. I used to think that, you know what, no one goes through all this stuff that, like, we read in this book, like, yeah, okay, that really happened, you know, as a kid. And then just keep living. Just keep living, you'll see it. You'll see it. If you haven't had an opportunity, guess what? Just keep living. But at the same time, you have to recognize. And it's easier to recognize if you have a relationship of when he wants you to do something and when he wants you to stay your hand. And the easiest way to figure that out is realize and apply this to every situation. What would God do if he was in my place? What would Jesus do? Would he be happy with the decisions that I'm trying to make? Well, guess what? Probably want to quit. Would he be happy with my progress and my continuing in my efforts? He might want to continue and not quit. But it takes relationship. And like you said, it takes faith. Do you have the faith that God is going to provide, regardless of the situation? You can be rich, you can be poor. You can have not. You can be set upon in your very household. Do you believe that God has the ability to bring you through, not just into the storm, but past and through the storm? But guess what? He's done it every time. Jesus, he went ahead, and the angels tended to him. The Israelites, they got food actually coming from heaven. And all he did was say, you know, just keep coming. Why did it take him 40 years to do? Disobedience made them take a short trip to take 40 years. Guess what? You know, we're going to sit here for a little while. There's giants in that land. We ain't going over there. I quit. I'm just going to sit right here. This is going on over there. You know what? Not me. I quit. I'm just going to sit over here. If he wants them people out of that land, he might have to send somebody else. I quit. Then after he got done with all of these quitters, he said, okay, now your kids can go in. Because y'all quit on me. They didn't. They didn't quit on me. After all the stuff I done did for you and brought you through, I opened up the Red Sea. And you said, nah, not me. I can't do that. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's what I'm trying to say. Is like, in my mind, I was wondering, how can you be a doubter at that point? But at the same time, if God has been bringing you through all these different situations, it becomes commonplace. Yes, sir.
One of the situations that we must realize that we can be very critical of Israel. It does seem like it's a bad situation, but Israel is Egypt typified sin.
Yes.
And we know that. Everything you can think about just about come out of Egypt. And so therefore, what happened to the first generation of people was that they were so influenced by Egypt and their ways that they refused to let go of some of that Egypt ways. And it was hard for Moses and God to deal with it. And even though they saw all those miracles and stuff, there was a hidden spirit inside of them. And that's the reason why the people of 20 years and under made it in. They didn't see all those miracles and stuff. So the final analysis is seeing isn't always believing.
Absolutely.
Those
Absolutely.
people that didn't see may translated it in the promised land.
The things that we should put the most trust in is the promises. There's a lot of things that you cannot physically see that you depend on. You can trust, for example, air,
Yes.
breathing, electronic frequencies
Right.
that help guide our bodies. But I have it kind of mixed up, but it's along that line. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the same with your faith. God, we have seen God.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know He's there? We sense Him. Talk to us. Haven't seen Him. But got to have that. It's the same.
We watched a movie, me and the wife, a couple nights ago. And I hate to quote this movie, but the man was right. He was absolutely right. He said the times when it's harder to have faith is the times when we need faith the most. When everything's working fine, guess what? You can see it. You can touch it. You can perceive it. But if it's a situation where you can't touch it, you can't perceive it, it's just something you can't necessarily deal with or touch, guess what? You ain't got nothing left but faith. And the thing is do you just sit there and wait? I mean, think about it this way. If in a monster movie, the person just sits down and says, you know what? He's not there. I'm just going to sit here and wait him out. They never survive. The one who survives is the one who keeps running. He don't know where he's going. He don't have no plan. He don't know if it's a vehicle coming, don't know if it's a road coming. Guess what? He gonna keep running. The person just stops and hides under the bed. They never make it. Because they say, you know what? I'm just gonna wait. I'm gonna pretend like this isn't happening. No. 100 miles is running. I got to go. You going to go? You got to go with me. We going to go together. You might run slower than me. That just means that I got more time to get away. I don't know. Why do we stop? There's no reason to stop. We know that stopping, God's still going to provide for us. He don't have a ram in the bush. He going to have somebody to help you carry your cross. What's the benefit of stopping? We don't have faith. We got to have faith, people. We have faith, but faith, we need to exercise the faith. Which means that even in small things, you have to stand on it. Stand on it. That's the one we're going to make it through. Amen? Amen. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am. Very good. Does she think she understands the lesson? You got to know when to touch it and when to let it go. And guess what? It ain't up to you. So ask for instructions, and guess what? Oh, listen, what are you trying to tell you? So you can listen all you want to. If you ain't going to do it, then what's the point? Anybody on Zoom have any comments?
Sister Rose, go ahead.
Thank you, wife.